Hello, I'm Kalyan Arangam. I'm a solution architect with Matillion. In this video, I'll be talking about the OData Query Component in Matillion ETL for Snowflake. Let's get started. The OData Query Component in Matillion helps you connect to an OData service and pull data into your Snowflake data warehouse. For this video, I'll use the publicly available Northwind OData service. It exposes various entities, but we'll be focusing on categories and products and pull some data from these. Let's start by adding an OData Query Component to the job panel. Connect these two, and let's copy the service URL into the URL property on the component. This is an open service. It doesn't need any credentials, so I'm going to skip the username and password. Next, we select the data source. The component queries the OData service for any available tables, views, or navigational properties and makes them available as a list from which you can select. I'm going to select categories. Then the columns I'd like from this particular source. You may specify some filters if you like, or even a row limit. I'm going to remove mine. I don't really need any limits. Then specify the staging area. This is basically an S3 bucket, which will hold the data before we push it into Snowflake. And the final property is the table name in Snowflake, into which we'll load this data. I'll just call it stage categories. Once you specify the minimum required properties, as you can see, it's now changed from red to green, which means we can now test the component. I'm going to right click and choose Run Component. You can see it's pulled 8 rows from the source, staged it in S3, and pushed it into Snowflake. Next, let's do the same and retrieve data from the products table. In this case, I'm just going to make a copy of the categories object, so I can reuse some of the properties and select the appropriate data source. And the columns relevant to the product, and we'll rename the target table and call it stage products. That looks good. It's in green. Let's now run this component to see how it works. Right, you can see it's pulling in 77 rows, and that's finished. The load components tend to be destructive in that they drop and recreate the target table based on the metadata of the incoming data. So the next time you run this component or the job, you're going to lose any data that's already in the stage tables over here. One pattern that you will see with most Matillion jobs would be to follow up a load component, one or more load components, with a transformation job that will move data from the staging tables into a more permanent target. I already have a transformation job that I've built previously. I'm just going to use that for this purpose. As you can see, I've got the staging tables over here. I'm performing a lookup to pull in the category name from the category table and then populate a product categories table based on the result. Let's now test this workflow. I'm going to run this job. And you can see there's the 8 rows from categories, 77 rows from products, and now we have the transformation job running, which then populates the product categories table with 77 rows. To know more about the OData Query Component, you can visit the Help section on the component itself. If you scroll right to the end, there's a link to full documentation, which takes you to the support site, where you can read more about the component. There's also a link to connection options. Connection options helps you configure some of the behaviors of the component, and you might find it useful in certain instances.
Hope you found that demonstration useful. To know more about the product, visit matillion.com, or to start a free trial, go to AWS Marketplace page for Matillion ETL for Snowflake. Thank you.